J-Knight, Batrep!
So welcome back to part 2 of this Dark Potential Battle Report. It's now Reclaimers, turn 2. So I start off by moving my forward observer to get a line of sight. He's really good for lighting up squads with the scanner and allowing them to shoot easier to them. And he decides to mark that particular squad. He needs 6s to hit based on the distance. Unfortunately rolls a 7, so I use one command point of his to bring it down to a 6 and allow +2 to hit against them, and I can also use a Redeemer strike on them. I then move up the second forward observer and repeat this process with the other squad. Once again, he needs 6s to hit. I roll a 7 once again, and I use one of his command points to bring this down to a 6, allowing the hit to occur. So now they are marked. I then call for the first Redeemer to hit that squad with a 3-inch blast. I need 6s to hit, roll a 7, and I use a command point once again to bring it down to a 6, and it's a direct hit, hitting 3 of them. So I'm using his objective. I hit 4 of them, sorry, and I need 4s or less to hurt them, and I roll all 4 of them less than 4. So 4 of them squad instantly are killed by the Redeemer Blast, which is great for me. Since I hit that squad, they now will have to do a morale check at -4, which is 6, and he fails. So he's going to use one of his command points to bring it down to a 6 and pass, because if he failed, then he would lose all of his command points anyway. The second Redeemer then repeats this process on the second squad that's been lit up and puts the 3-inch blast over about half the squad, I think 3 or 4 of them. I believe 3 of them. I need 6s to hit, but unfortunately roll a 9. Rather than using a command point, because I'll still fail if I try to reduce it by 1, I decide to save for later and possibly try to reduce and increase my chances of wounding those individuals. So it does deviate. It deviates 3 inches in the direction of 1, so slightly away from the squad, and it ends up only hitting 2 members of the squad. I then roll to wound. I need, once again, 4s to wound. And I roll 1 4 and 1 5. So I use a command point then to bring that 5 down to a 4. And thus I kill 2 warriors in that squad. And force, once again, another morale check at -2. So they need an 8 total. 10 minus 2. And they roll a 4. So they still stay in place. I believe this was when we accidentally rolled for the commander's morale check, but it doesn't matter. He didn't need to since the squad was not completely wiped out. I then move up a squad of initiates towards the objective and roll, and so it's a 4, so it's worth 1 point total, and that group gathers that objective. It's the front member of the squad that has it. I move up my commander and lines up a shot towards that squad. I need 8 to hit, and luckily I roll an 8, so I hit. Does D, and then I need a 3 to wound the individual because they have slight cover. And so I use a command point to reroll, and I fail again. So I use another command point to bring that number down to 3, and thus I hit. And then he gets to do D3 wounds that person, but luckily he only has 1 wound anyway, so he dies. And then they need to roll a morale check, and they roll an 11, so they fail their morale check. He uses a command point then to re-roll the dice. He needs a 9, and fails again. So then he has to use another command point from the commander, and bring it down to a 9, and allow them to pass their morale check. So right now, it is looking okay for the Reclaimers. And I moved up the Initiates to once again get a good shot off on that squad. And at that point, he called his Overwatch, which he can call any point during my turn, on the far left Initiate. Needs a 10 to hit, fails by rolling 11, so he once again uses a command point to re-roll the dice. And hits directly with his 3-inch blast, which hits 1 Initiate and my commander. Luckily, the commander has 5 wounds. Needs a 4 to kill the Initiate, fails, and uses a command point to reroll the dice and kills the far left initiate. Now he has to roll a 2 or less to kill the commander or get a wound on him, sorry. Fails. So once again, takes off a command point off his commander and rolls a 2. So gets a wound on mine, and he still has 4 wounds left. I have to roll a morale check now because I got hit, and I passed my morale check by rolling an 8. I needed a 9. Those initiates then fire at his squad, need 7s to hit. Luckily I roll a 6. And I'm going to use a command point to bring it down to 5, so that way they get an extra shot off at the squad. Actually, I use another command point then to bring it down, so you have 3 shots off the squad. And they need 2s or less to wound the individuals, and there are only 2 left anyway, so both of them are killed. So I'm already starting to wipe out a lot of his squads. And because the squad was wiped out, both the other 2 squads then have to take in a morale check, and is what does his commander, and they both pass. And finally, then I move up the other squad of initiates. And now it's Xylanthos' turn 2. So Darren begins by refilling the command points. You get half your command points rounded down per turn, replenishing. And then he moves up first. That one member left that squad to grab that objective. That's worth 2 points. So he moves up and uses his action turn to take the objective. So right now it is now 2-1 for Xylanthos. He then reveals which of the 3 markers was the stealthed assassin. So he reveals his assassin, and then uses the assassin to run through the wall and attack the Redeemer. And essentially the Redeemer's in big trouble now, despite the fact he has 3 wounds. Needs a 9 to hit, and of course hits him, and kills him by removing 3 wounds. So he kills my Redeemer in that fell swoop. And then moves after combat, half his movement away and towards my commander. He then finishes his movement near the other objective, so he rolls another dice and rolls another 6, so that second objective is also worth 2 more points. He then reveals which of the 3 bases was his assassin, and reveals his assassin, who then runs towards the objective and uses his action phase once again to pick up the 2-point objective. So now it is 4-1 Xylanthos. See how quickly the tides can turn in this game, despite the fact that I took out a lot of his warriors. That one final squad of warriors then moves around the corner and shoots at my other Redeemer. Needs 11s to hit and rolls a 5, so they get a lot of shots off. In retrospect, I probably should have kept him hidden behind the wall, but it would have been very difficult. And they do many wounds to him, so that my second Redeemer is also killed in this turn too. The commander then lines up his pie plate on that squad of initiates, needs an 8 to hit, and luckily hits with a perfect 8. That template hits 2 initiates and my forward observer. Needs a 5 or less to kill the first initiate, and it hits him and kills him. And then the other ones need 3 or less, and he ends up killing the second initiate. And then he has to roll for my forward observer, which he needs a 4 or less. And once again, does a wound to my forward observer, who luckily still has another wound left. Another 2 wounds. So leadership check or morale check on my forward observer. And he passes. And then my commander also passes. So here's what the table looked like at the end of turn 2. As you can see, a lot of bodies have died. There's not that many Xylanthos left on the board. There's that one squad of warriors, that one commander left, and the one member of the warrior squad with the objectives, as well as the 2 assassins. And the reclaimers have also taken heavy casualties. There's my leader. My squad of initiates is now gone. And I've lost both redeemers. So there have been a lot of bodies so far. And right now, the Xylanthos are getting lucky with their rolls, getting 4 points between 2 objectives. And I only have 1 point. So stay tuned for the next part. When you're ready, click on the link below to go to the next part of this battle report. And also please like the video, comment in the comment section down below, and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't done so.